Hello, I'm Xavier. Welcome to our new story. Your support is crucial for our videos to reach a wider audience. Therefore, after listening, please like and leave a comment, even if it is just a period. By doing so, you will be rewarding my efforts. Thank you in advance. It was 1986, and in our village, a treasure hunting craze had begun. Anyone with a shovel and pickaxe was digging through the mountains and hills. People from other provinces had even started to join in. My friend Hassan came to me and said, "Let's search for treasure, for gold. If everyone is coming here, there must be something." Initially, I dismissed the idea, but his words had piqued my interest. People from the next village, who had shown Hassan some small artifacts they had recently found, claimed they were close to a big discovery. Hassan mentioned they had found some old coins. We sat down and discussed what we could do. The men had dug around the ruins with old stones in our area. According to Hassan, the real treasure was not there, but near the old castle further away. 2 nights later, we made it our preparations and set out, just the 2 of us. As we passed near our mother's houses, we saw some lights in the distance. Hassan told me they were other treasure hunters, so we passed by them without being noticed. Reaching near the castle, we were unsure where exactly to start digging. After about an hour of searching, I was looking for something unusual, something that stood out, and I noticed a stone that seemed out of place. I went over to inspect it, and Hassan followed. I suggested, "Let's tilt this stone from the side." With his help, we managed to move the stone. Just then, we heard a scream from the hilltop. Hassan immediately lay down on the ground, and seeing him, I crouched down too. When no further sound came, we returned to the stone. We knew that if the gendarmes caught us, it wouldn't end well. We started digging where the stone had been. As we dug, we saw some glimmers from the woods behind us. We were so blinded by the thought of treasure that we didn't realize what was happening. The rustling sounds around us grew louder. At first, we thought it was an animal, but then we saw someone approaching. It was Uncle Isad from the neighboring village. He often came to our village to buy things. "What are you doing, kids?" he asked. Hassan just stared at him without a word, thinking he was scared, and that's why he was silent. I quickly said, "Hello, Uncle Isad." I say. He looked at us intently and asked sternly, "What are you looking for here?" I made up a story. We were looking for mushrooms during the day, and I dropped something here. He didn't seem to believe us and said, "Don't get yourselves into unnecessary trouble. Our peace is disturbed because of you greedy humans." And then he turned and walked away. As I watched him leave, I laughed and said to Hassan, "Uncle Isad has really lost it." But when I turned to Hassan, he was still staring in the direction Uncle Isad had gone, looking horrified. I nudged him and asked, "What's wrong?" His eyes were wide open as he turned to me and said, "That wasn't Uncle Isad." I replied, "Don't be silly. We both know him. He's been around for years." Hassan said, "But he died last week." I was stunned and said, "What are you talking about? Don't be ridiculous." Hassan insisted, "When I went to their village last week to secretly buy a horse, I saw his funeral procession." I argued, "He was just standing in front of us, alive and well. Why would a dead man come back?" Hassan said, "He called us greedy sons of Adam. Didn't you understand? That wasn't Uncle Isa, it was something else." I was left speechless. Who had we just spoken to? We both felt uneasy and decided to leave. As we were packing up to return to the village, I looked back and saw Uncle Isad standing near the stone we had tilted, watching us. At that moment, Hassan turned me around. He must have seen it before me. We parted ways when we reached near our homes. As soon as I got home, I washed my face and hands and went to bed. In the middle of the night, I heard a noise outside. When I looked out, I saw my Uncle Salih, who had passed away years ago. How could this be? His death had been mysterious. He had gone on a long journey and reportedly fell off a cliff with his horse. We never saw his body or held a funeral prayer for him. I stepped outside and walked towards him. He smiled when he saw me, but gestured with his hand, signaling, "Don't come closer, stop." I asked him, "Uncle, how did you come here? They said you were dead. I missed you so much. Where have you been?" His face seemed to radiate light. Smiling, he said, "I missed you too, my nephew." I asked him, "Why did you miss me?" He replied, "I won't stay here long, nephew. Abandon the task you're intending to do. It will be a calamity for you and your family. This path leads to torment." At first, I didn't understand, but then I realized he was referring to the treasure hunt. His smile was so beautiful that I said, "Okay, Uncle, I'll give it up, but please come back." He shook his head as if to say no, and began to walk backward into the wooded area. I asked, "Okay, Uncle, where are you? When will you return?" He looked at me one last time and said, "I've left everything behind, but couldn't pass the sacred place, and then I woke up in bed, drenched in sweat." What kind of dream was that? Was my uncle trying to tell me something? The next evening, Hassan came to me. Without mentioning the dream, I just said, "I'm out." He got very angry at first. I said, "I don't feel right about this," and he left, saying, "Okay." I didn't see him for a few days. One night, he came knocking on my door, crying, "Save me, save me," and threw himself at me. When I looked back, I saw two red eyes watching us from the trees. I quickly brought Hassan inside and read the Quran until the call to prayer at dawn. After the morning prayer, Hassan finally came to himself and told me what happened. He had gone to the treasure site alone that night and found gold about 6 feet under where we had turned over the stone. While trying to return with the gold, a creature with pig's feet, red eyes, a hairy body, and a terrifying face screamed at him, "Leave them, son of Adam." Hassan started running back, but the creature appeared in front of him saying, "I'm warning you for the last time, or I will end your lineage." Hassan threw the gold and ran to my house. At one point, he looked back and saw the red eyes following him. I told him, "I saw those eyes too." I took him to the mosque's imam. The imam read some prayers over him, and I took him back to his house. A few nights later, I heard Hassan's wife screaming. Hassan had hanged himself in the garden. Much later, we learned the truth. Hassan had hidden one of the gold pieces in his pocket that day and hadn't told me. He had only shown it to his wife at home. After Hassan's death, one day when his wife went to fetch water, she tripped near the well, fell headfirst into the water trough, and drowned. Hassan's only son went mad one day, killing his newlywed wife and then himself with a shotgun. Indeed, that gold had been the end of his family. I never forgot the dream about my uncle, always pondering what he said. Then I remembered the great cliff on the road coming to our place, the sacred place the elders spoke of. The next day, I set out for it. It took hours, but I managed to descend to the bottom of the cliff. I found my uncle's grave there. I cried a lot, beat myself up, but in the end I knew it was meant to be. I gathered his remains and brought them back to the village. We buried him in our village cemetery. May God be pleased with him. If it weren't for him, my end might have been like Hassan's. One night, I dreamt of my uncle again. He was waving at me from the end of a dense, beautiful, and serene forest, smiling. I think I had finally brought peace to his soul. As I reflect upon these unusual events that unfolded in my life, I can't help but acknowledge the mysteries that exist beyond our understanding. Life can take us down unexpected paths, and sometimes the pursuit of material wealth can lead to unforeseen consequences. In the end, I found solace in the memory of my uncle, who guided me away from the treacherous pursuit of hidden riches. His presence, even in dreams, brought closure and peace to my troubled heart. Life is a journey filled with lessons, and I learned that some treasures are best left untouched. Thank you for listening to my story.